Hello everyone, welcome to Just Cap Entertainment. Tonight's show will about a big naughty shark. Thousands of feet below the surface, Jonas, a skilled rescue diver, manages to rescue a large number of crew before disaster strikes. Jonas is faced with a difficult decision whether to save the remaining crew members or to close the hatch and leave them behind. Despite the protests of Dr. Heller, who is outraged at Jonas' decision to abandon the remaining crew, he stands firm in his choice and the surviving crew detach from the submarine just as it explodes. A few years had passed. A quirky billionaire, he stepped into the elevator at Dr. Zhang's ocean facility. The elevator was rather dull, but we knew that Jack had a knack for spicing things up. As we descended, Dr. Zhang explained that this was Jack's latest investment, a project that had been in the works for quite some time. The crew was preparing for a big expedition, and Jack was just in time to witness the fruits of his labor. We were headed to the deepest depths of the ocean, and Dr. Zhang had reason to believe that there was an entire ecosystem waiting to be discovered below the Mariana Trench. But what if he was wrong? As Jack had invested a whopping $1.3 billion into this project. The crew descended into the depths, anticipating what lay ahead. As they approached the bottom, they readied themselves for insertion. The vessel continued on, and to their great surprise, they discovered that they had not reached the bottom as they had expected. Instead, they found themselves in the midst of a thriving ecosystem, untouched by the rest of the ocean. The crew quickly deployed some drones to explore the area, but lost its signal. Something large and fast attacks the vessel. In a moment of panic, one of the crew members yelled out, "Jonas was right." The team agrees to look for Jonas, but Heller objects, citing that Jonas is dangerous. Nevertheless, Jonas is the only one to have successfully executed a rescue mission at such a depth. It is unfortunate that he has retired to Thailand. Now the scene moved to Thailand, where Jonas is enjoying a simpler life. Mac and Zong pull him aside to ask for his help, but before they can get a word in, Jonas declines no matter the offer. Mac pulls a recorder and it states that, "You were right," and told Jonas that Lori, his ex-wife, is trapped down there. We shift our focus to the submerged crew. Jet has managed to find a solution to turn the light back on, while Toshi takes a moment to write a note for his wife, just in case. However, their relief is short-lived as the ship and its crew are once again rattled, causing Lori to sustain an injury. To add to their troubles, the hull has been compromised, leaving them leaking oxygen. In a moment of bravery, Suyen, Zhang's daughter, decides to hop into one of the gliders, ready to make her descent. When Jonas, Zhang and Mac arrived, they were immediately informed of the situation. Jonas wasted no time in getting himself situated in his own craft. However, he was interrupted as Suyen's daughter, Mei, snuck inside and asked if he was going to make the descent. Jonas then says yes once Mei leaves. As he descended, Jonas found himself frozen with fear, causing mission control to question him. Despite his nerves, Jonas rapidly descended, catching up with Suyen. Miraculously, he made it down to the secret level unscathed. Meanwhile, Suyen had also completed her journey and even managed to find the crew. Suyen is suddenly attacked by a giant squid. The creature's massive tentacles wrapped around the vessel, crushing it with ease. As the squid attempted to devour her, a massive shark appeared and devoured the squid. However, Suyen's relief was short-lived as the shark began to circle around her. Jonas quickly instructed her to turn off the lights, but the ship was too damaged to operate. Jonas then shot out flares to distract the shark, giving Suyen a chance to escape, urged Suyen to leave the situation and ensure her safety. Jonas successfully distracted the shark and quickly focused rescuing the crew. Suddenly the shark returned and Toshi places his note in Jeff's pocket, sacrificing himself to save the others. Then the shark ultimately destroyed the submarine with Toshi inside it. After the crew returns, Suyen confronts Jonas for his failure to save Toshi. Meanwhile, Dr. Heller attends to Lori and apologizes to Jonas for the incident. Then Jonas agrees to let it go as long as Lori is taken care of. Later, Suyen unexpectedly enters Jonas's room while he is fresh out of the shower. She apologizes for her earlier behavior, then leaves. Later, a meeting was held during which Zhang emphasized the importance of proceeding cautiously with their discovery. However, Jack disagrees, as he has spent a lot of money and wants to capture the shark. Then Jonas burst into the room and disagreed, explaining that a battle between man and Megalodon would not be a fair fight, but rather a slaughter. Meanwhile, as May is playing, the Megalodon swims up and stares at her before attacking. The bite is so powerful it shakes the building. Suyen immediately looks for her daughter, and when they find her they see a big bite mark on the glass. Then a baby whale appears, but it was taken by the shark. The crew gathered to discuss the situation as Jax revealed a troubling discovery, saying when Jonas was ascending he accidentally opened a thermal vent and created a passage for the sharks, allowing them to come out. Suddenly an alert came through about nearby ships that had sunk. They head out to investigate and find the remains of the boat. Then the Mag is spotted and the crew formulates a plan. Jonas swims closer to the Meg and shoots the GPS by its fin. After making sure the GPS is working they reel Jonas back. Unfortunately it inadvertently catches the attention of the Meg. It chases Jonas ferociously and lunges towards him, almost getting him. Luckily for Jonas he makes it back on to the boat on time. The crew then prepares Suyen for her daring dive into the shark tank. Suyen will be armed with a poisonous spear to jab at the shark. As she enters the tank, Chum is thrown into the water to attract the sharks. Initially, small beta sharks surround the cage, but they quickly flee as the alpha shark approaches. Suyen struggles to execute her attack as the shark gets up close and personal. Unfortunately, the shark has no trouble executing its own attack. Suyen and the boat are no match for the shark's ferocious power as it takes them on a wild ride. Suyen then manages to administer the poison spear into the shark's mouth. The shark swims off in anger, only to return and attack Suyen once again. The Meg attempts to swallow the cage whole and Jonas springs into action and dives into the water. The Meg thrashes the cage around while attempting to swallow it, but fortunately, the crane partially gives in, yanking the cage out of the creature's mouth in the process. Jax tumbles into the water and the Meg scents her and makes a turn onto her and attack Jax but missed. Meanwhile, Jonas tries to save Suyen from the cage. With her mask had cracked during the yankening. As she passes out, Jonas manages to get her out. Back on the boat, Jeff hatches a plan and takes command of the grid, ready to use the second crane while dropping a massive bag of chum to distract it. The Meg quickly takes notice and heads in for a bite. In the process, it becomes entangled in a loop and locks its sights on Jonas and Suyen, hurtling towards them at breakneck speed. But just as all seems lost, the giant creature suddenly succumbs to the tiny dose of poison it was given. With the Meg now dead, Jonas carries an unconscious Suyen back to the boat. After little CPR from Jones, Suyen then wakes up and thanks Jones for saving her life. Then they head to the deck and see that the Mag has been reeled in. Jeff poses for a picture while DJ trolls him. Now in the water, Jeff strikes a little pose before another big giant shark swims up, eating Jeff and the other dead shark. The boat is absolutely wrecked, and Zhang is left critically injured. Heller and Jax are still in the water, but he sacrifices himself by distracting it. Then Jack calls in for backup while Jonas goes for the lifeboats. They all speed away as the shark follows them. Jack hires a group of mercenary and fires away at the creature. Managed to distract it away from everyone, they make it back safely to the headquarters except Zahn. He died from the injury. Jack reminds everyone that he came here to celebrate with them, but ended up mourning with them instead. In response to the recent tragedies, he'll be temporarily shutting down the facility and will be soon evacuating everyone. In the helicopter, we see that he's actually got other plans in mind. His men find the Meg and decides to kill it. Jack and his boys excitedly inspect their catch and ask his men to get him a tooth as a souvenir. The man dives under, but returns empty-handed, saying it's not a shark but a whale. Realizing they have shot the wrong fish and the danger they are in, they decide to leave. The boat speeds off. Unfortunately, Jack tumbles into the water. He then manages to hang on to the whale, but he too is killed soon after by the big fish. The next morning, Jonas and the gang realize Jack was never sending an evacuation team. Instead, he was just trying to sweep the disaster under the rug. Unfortunately, the Meg is still at large and it's heading towards a populated beach. Mac tries to warn the authority, but they thought it was just some prank and decides to ignore it. Then they decide to do it themselves. The crew set sail toward the beach. Then we cut to a boat near the beach. Seems to be a couple celebrating their wedding, and the dog ran off and jumps into the water. Suddenly, the shark speeds towards the dog and kills it. The shark now heads towards beach full of people attacking a lot the beachgoers, which cause everyone to start to panic and swim ashore. As the shark managed to hurt a lot of people, even some guy hiding in a protective bubble did not make it out alive. Now, the Meg swim towards a group of stranded kids, and just in the nick of time Jonas and the gang managed to attract it towards Jonas by blasting whale sounds in the water. The Meg pulls up and start chasing Jonas, and Suyen launches a torpedo at the shark to save him. Jonas readies his torpedo, and as he tries to launch it, it jams. The Meg chases after him, but Jonas is too slick, maneuvering his craft through the reef but damage his shuttle on the process. Meanwhile, the news reporters' helicopters collide with one another. Jonas ends up facing one by one with the angry shark. He bravely charges straight towards the creature's gaping mouth and outmaneuvers it at the last second, using damage out of his ship to slice the shark's belly as it retaliates with a crushing bite. Jonas is forced to escape the shuttle, then he takes a harpoon and pierce into the shark's eye. It then breaches out the surface of the water, and Jonas administers the final blow and killing it. Everybody then takes refuge on a boat, and apparently the dog is still alive. The end.